the awesome Tutor, and today we're going to be looking at causes or types of unemployment. First of all, cyclical unemployment or demand deficient unemployment. It's called demand deficient because it's due to insufficient, not enough, or very small aggregate demand in the economy. And this can be shown in a boom-bust cycle when the economy is moving to recession, or it can be shown by production inside the PPF, so not at potential. You're at an inefficient position in the economy, you're wasting resources, you're not operating at potential, those resources being labor. But more commonly, it's shown by an aggregate demand, aggregate supply diagram. So say if aggregate demand decreases from potential, from potential equilibrium here to this position right here, so from, let's call that A to B, all right? So aggregate demand decreases from AD to AD1. So the price decreases, the price level decreases, and output decreases, all right? The significant part here, when we're talking about unemployment, is the output decreasing, all right? It moves from Y to Y1. That means the economy is now producing below potential. We have a negative output gap, have spare capacity. And because it's not producing as much now, it doesn't need as much labor to produce at Y1, all right, because it's producing less. Therefore, it needs to decrease its use of labor because it's not producing as much. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's producing now at Y1 instead of Y, it doesn't need as much labor. Alright? And therefore, the economy either stops hiring workers or hires less workers, or it lets some workers go. So it fires workers. Alright? And that leads to redundancy. What you have to understand about the labor market is it's derived demand. And because it's derived demand, it is dependent on the demand in the economy. If there is less demand in an economy, then there's going to be less demand for labor. Alright? Because this is derived demand. Okay, so we have structural unemployment. This is a long-term problem for the economy. Right? It occurs when workers either don't have the right skills, so that's occupational immobility, from microeconomics, and also if they struggle to move to a location where jobs are available, and that's geographic immobility. So how do you solve this? You make labor more mobile. Alright, so for occupational mobility, you could have training schemes, provide higher education, subsidized education, anything that increases the skills of workers. Alright? For geographic mobility, you could find a way to reduce house prices, you could subsidize, you could have a help to buy scheme, whatever. For frictional unemployment, okay, that occurs when you're in between jobs. Alright? You're temporarily unemployed. The job is there, you're still searching for it, you just haven't found it. Alright? So in between jobs. You can solve this by maybe providing better information on job vacancies. Seasonal unemployment, again, you're temporarily unavailable because there's low demand for labor at particular times of the year. This is for certain markets, like the tourism industry, for example. Right? Say in the summer holidays, all right, demand for tourism jobs is going to be high. But once that holiday season is over, there's going to be seasonal unemployment. And these three types of unemployment, this is to do with the natural rate of unemployment. So unemployment that still exists even at potential. Alright? So there's always going to be structural, frictional, seasonal unemployment in every single economy because it's the natural rate of unemployment. right? It has to be there. It's not necessarily a bad thing, like for frictional unemployment specifically, okay? But the thing is, it's not as damaging to the economy as cyclical unemployment. However, the only exception to that is perhaps structural unemployment, which I will talk about in another video. Okay, so real wage unemployment, right? Let's look at this diagram. We have the, by the way, this is the labor market, all right? So supply of labor, demand for labor. So you have the wage rate and the quantity or employment, whatever you like to call it. So we have the equilibrium at W star, Q star. If the government, for example, sets a minimum wage above the equilibrium, then that's going to create real wage unemployment, because supply extends to QS and demand now contracts to QD. So now this is in disequilibrium, all right? And we have unemployment of labor right here. Unemployment is shown by QS minus QD. Okay, there's now more supply of labor, okay, because more workers are willing to work at a higher wage, but there's less demand for labor as firms now have a higher cost of production if they hire more labor. So they're going to tend to demand less so they can reduce their costs. So that creates unemployment QS QD. The second diagram occurs when there is a demand side shock for labor. All right, demand for labor suddenly decreases, but wages are kept at the same level. So this has the same effect as putting a minimum wage. All right, it's just there's demand side shock, and still we have supply now extends and demand contracts at the new demand and supply equilibrium. So now it's disequilibrium. Okay, so forget the old demand and look at the new demand. Pretty much the same diagram as this. Supply extends and demand contracts, creating unemployment QS QD. That's it for the types or causes of unemployment. There are some more, but that's all I'm going to cover for this video. So this has been the Awesome Tutor. Bye.